Hello, and welcome to Experience of the Soul, a weekly space to help you grow, prosper, and step into the power of your purpose. This week, spiritual teacher and author Cynthia Alice Anderson welcomes special guest Lorna Owens for a deeply inspiring conversation about service, spiritual calling, and the transformative power of one small act. You're invited to listen with an open heart as we explore what it means to follow divine guidance and live a life rooted in wholeness. And now, Cynthia Alice Anderson.
Hello and welcome to the Experience of the Soul podcast. My name is Cynthia Alice Anderson. I'm the host. I'm here today with my producer and a special guest. So, my friends, it is a great, great day. And of course, to my friends and family, I'm known as RCA. So, it's very fun that has taken hold somehow. But we're happy to have you along the journey. It's hard to believe we're way over show 400 now, and we appreciate all the help, all the support, and all the love to keep our shows going. And we have loved being able to bring on some special guests, so I know you're really going to be blessed today. But first, let me welcome into our show our producer, Mr. Sean Kilgore, with This Week in Spiritual History.
Hello, friends. Welcome to episode 408 of Experience of the Soul for Monday, April 13th. We're so glad you're here. There is a sense this week of turning the page, a steady feeling of beginning again, blessing what's behind us and taking one small step forward. So we begin this week in spiritual history with the Eastern Orthodox tradition. Today is Bright Monday. So this always happens the day after Orthodox Easter, part of what's known as Bright Week. Now, Orthodox Easter falls a week later than Western Easter because of a difference in the way the dates are calculated in the calendars. But this day carries a sense of renewal that doesn't end with one celebration. It unfolds day by day, which I thought was really kind of a beautiful thing. Yeah.
Well, also, we always come back to that, right, Sean?
Yes.
Day by day, moment by moment process. So,
yeah, for sure. One day at a time, right?
Yeah.
Also beginning today is what is known as Songkran. This is the Thai New Year. Now, if you want to make yourself smile today, I would encourage you to look up an image of the Thai New Year because it's celebrated so today through Wednesday, and water is at the heart of the tradition. So literally it is, them playing with water. There's a picture of a stage with giant water cannons. They use water as sort of a symbol of cleansing and blessing and shared joy. So look that up today when you got some time. This is a beautiful reminder that renewal sometimes splashes in, playful and communal. Right.
I know. Well, went ahead and looked up a picture right now, Sean. It looks amazing.
Yeah.
I want to say, where have I been that I did not know about this? This looks amazing. The Thai culture, though, has so many beautiful traditions that I guess I shouldn't be surprised,
Yeah, it looks like a lot of fun and a great way to, celebrate new beginnings.
Yeah.
I love that
absolutely.
sort of cleansing idea. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Tuesday of this week, many Sikhs observe what is known as Vaisakhi. This is a festival connected to harvest and spiritual identity. For Sikhs, it's a remembrance of sacred community and commitment. So this observance sort of carries a strength with it, an invitation to stand firmly in who you are and in what you believe, which really something we can all take something from that, I believe.
Absolutely.
Stand firmly in who you are and what you believe, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then beginning at sundown Thursday, we enter Rosh Chodesh Iyar. This is the start of a new Hebrew month. This is observed through Friday. This is a gentle monthly turning of the page, a small intentional pause to notice time passing and to begin again in quiet, faithful ways.
Amen to that every day.
Right.
Begin again every day.
Every time you open your eyes in the morning, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And our Just for Fun this week is World Art Day on Wednesday. So this is a gentle invitation to notice beauty or make something with your hands or let creativity become a kind of prayer for you in your life. And if it's not Wednesday when you're listening, no worries. Art isn't going anywhere. You can certainly celebrate whenever you are here. So, friends, something to think about as you move into your week. What in your life feels ready for a fresh start, even in a small way? What in your life feels ready for a fresh start, even in a small way?
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful, Sean. Well done.
Thank you.
Well
Thank
done.
you. And with that, we are into episode 408 when we welcome a very special guest today. We're joined by someone whose life truly embodies the word wholeness. Lorna
Mhm.
Owens is a registered nurse, midwife, attorney, international speaker, and author of Becoming Whole: Letters to the Woman I Am. She's traveled to more than 24 countries speaking on spiritual growth, healing, self care, and purposeful living, weaving together faith, wellness, and lived experience in a way that feels both grounded and empowering. Her heart is especially focused on the power of one. This is the idea that each of us can really make a meaningful difference, even through one small act. She's deeply committed also to helping reduce maternal and infant mortality around the world. So we are very pleased to welcome to Experience of the Soul, Lorna Owens. Welcome,
Thank
Lorna.
you. Peace and blessings. Glad to be
Yes.
here.
Thank
Oh,
you.
wonderful to have you, Lorna. And, I'm excited to get to know you more because we've, spoken recently. And when I heard about your work, I just knew I wanted to be in support of it. And one of the things our listeners really like, before I get deeply into your book, I wanted to find out a little bit more about, where did this journey start? Because you've weaved spirituality really through all of your work, it seems like, as a nurse and midwife and attorney. And even in your book, right? It's all about empowering people to make good choices for themselves and be a blessing to the world, it seems. So I wondered if you could tell us a little bit about how your journey began with the deeper spiritual living, if you don't mind starting there.
Yes, I think maybe go back to Jamaica, born in Jamaica.
Okay.
When I was 12 years old, I said to my mother, I wanted to be a lawyer. She said lawyers did not go to heaven. So I chose, the jury is still out on that. I chose a heaven worthy profession, which was nursing. And
Ah,
so all my life, service is in my DNA. I saw it around my family, my mother and father. And so I did nursing in Jamaica and then went to England, studied
oh,
midwifery.
ah,
And yeah, when I came to America, I decided to eventually go to law school. But interestingly, even though I wanted to be a lawyer since 12 years old, once I became a lawyer, I realized, I like the education. I like the
mm,
mental gymnastic, but I didn't like the practice. I didn't like to be quarreling with people every day and
right.
all like that. And yeah, I did very, very well and was known for some things. And then I got burnt out
Yeah.
and I knew I couldn't practice law anymore.
Hmm.
So I opened a record label because part of my law practice was entertainment law. So I opened a law practice and lost like $1.5 million. So now I had nothing. I had no money. I was looking under my bed for a quarter. I sold my Jag and was taking the bus. But
Wow.
interestingly, I was very happy. It was the craziest thing. I remember being in Cape Cod and I was writing another book I had, and I had gone there because there is a Unity Church down in Cape Cod. I
Oh, yes.
spoke there and
Mhm.
yeah, and stayed at a friend's cottage. And somebody was saying to me, "What do you mean you're in Cape Cod at a friend's cottage? I thought you said you were broke." And I said, "Yeah, but this is like the happiest time in my life."
Love it.
So I was always wired to feeling that there was something deeper, there was something more, right? I
Yeah.
was a person who always took all her vacation time. And so I think that, Spirit speaks to each and every one of us differently. And it's a matter of knowing who you are and surrendering to the process. So over the years, that's how I've come to being.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, and I think it's so interesting uh what you said about burning out because really depending on the kind of law, you can feel like you're literally arguing right as a profession, right? So
Yeah.
it can be a very difficult profession and I know the hours, the expectations are really really high, but I love what you said about not having anything but life being good, right? Because it was the sense, it sounds like, of connection to something larger than, because we are more than our careers. And I think, depending on how we are raised, we can be raised to think that our career is our identity. And I think part of your
Right.
right, part of your discovery then was not that you didn't know it, but I think you had a real life experience of knowing, I have a self that transcends any career or any a dollar amount that you might make.
Yes, and I realized something triggered for me that when I was in service,
Mhm.
I was feeling great, and so I've never really concentrated on money. I My love language is act of service. So even when I had a law practice, one day I just got fed up and
Mhm.
went to the jail and started something called Women Behind Bars because I had a lot of young girls coming that I was representing, and they were on trial for murder, right?
Oh, wow.
And yeah, it was a big deal. And so I said I had to do something about it, but it wasn't a real good fit for me because I felt I didn't understand really their journey. I was their lawyer, but I really couldn't um, associate with that journey. And I had done a degree in international relations.
Right,
So
right.
when I travel the world, that is me. That is me. And 2020, I believe, I was watching CNN and I saw a piece called Rape as a Weapon of War. And it told the story of the women of the Democratic Republic of the Congo.
Oh, yes.
And,
Mhm.
yeah, I was crying and I'm like, why is no one doing anything about it? And, a voice said to me, it's you. No, I should have said to the voice, go away, because like six weeks later, I
Yeah.
was on my way to the Congo
Well.
with a friend. We had made all the arrangements. We flew in through Rwanda, was met there by a Catholic priest, stayed overnight at a monastery, and then was driven over to the Congo, an area called Goma,
Mhm.
where even now there's a lot of fighting and stuff like that.
Right,
And
right.
interestingly, we drove over and I'm like, oh my goodness, that is why the State Department says don't come here, because we were like in the middle of a war, right? And
Mhm.
my friend who came with me, she said, I got more life insurance. And I'm like, not now, but we did a lot of work there. We
Mhm.
took nurses and doctors. We trained their nurses and doctors in obstetrics and neonatal resuscitation and things of that nature, things to
Mhm.
help reduce maternal and infant mortality. Walked among rebels, taken in for questioning,
Wow.
and but when you're called by spirit God to do stuff, you
Mhm.
know that you're going to be protected by a mighty force. There was a knowing that all will be well, even though this was really, really dangerous. But I just knew all was going to be well. It wasn't my time to die in the Congo. So we did the work. Yeah.
Yes. Well, and you're speaking of something we talk so often about on the show, which is following that divine guidance. And I'm so glad you're speaking both to that and service. And you also brought up something that I have supported victims of sexual assault for a very long time, and volunteered at an organization in Kansas City called Metropolitan Organization to Counter Sexual Assault. So I love that you were there for the women, but not only that, also providing education. But I think you're saying so many important things that I want to slow down and just lift up, because I think for all of us, we all really know what our call is to do and be. And I think a lot of us don't listen to it. And what I love about your journey is not only did you listen, you moved your feet. What we call it putting feet on our prayers, and really trusted the voice of spirit and moved through. And here you are today to tell the story. And I know probably, and knowing the work you did there, it still ripples out. There are still people impacted by the work you did there. And that was just largely in service. It sounds like that was on your own dime and you went down just to help and support. Is that right?
Yeah, that wasn't everyone's dime, but
Mm-hmm.
I like, we talked at the intro, at the entrance, about the power of one.
Yes.
And it never occurred to me that I could make a difference. All I knew is that I
Mm-hmm.
had to do it. Like you said, move your feet. And
Mm-hmm.
when you're called to do the work,
Mm-hmm.
I encourage us not to question the miracle, not to say how. It's not none of our business. The
Mm-hmm.
how is none of our business. Is
Amen to
really to
that.
move your feet, because things just really, really fell into place and all was well. And we taught and we helped reduce maternal and infant mortality in the Congo. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I remember calling University of Miami because I didn't have any doctors. I just was sitting in my house in Miami Beach saying, I want doctors to go with me to the Congo. And University of Miami made sense to me. So I called, and to this day, nobody knows who gave me the information. And somebody who I thought was a secretary said, "Oh, the right person would be Professor Mary Jo O'Sullivan, Nahida Shatora, and a young doctor called Rumsky." And she gave me their names. I called Dr. O'Sullivan, and she said, "Oh, call me. I'll call you when I get back into the country." She gets back into the country, and by that time I kind of look her up, and like, she's a rock star in the obstetrics. I'm like,
Oh,
so I'm
wow.
like, yeah, I'm like, Professor, I'm kind of a sort of, nervous kind of thing. And she said, "Yes." I'm like, "You said yes?" She said, "Yeah." And then we met for the first, and I said, "Why did you say yes?" She says, "When I retired, I asked God to use me." I should have said in the continental USA. So since I didn't say that, I had to say
Mm,
yes. And let me tell you, we walked among amazing rebels in the Congo, and she
yeah.
taught the doctors and nurses and the traditional birth attendants with all her might. When the
Beautiful.
doctors found out that she was coming, they're like, "You mean the professor? Are you playing with us?" I'm like, "No, no, no. It's really her. She's really coming." So everything was provided for me along the way. Yes, it
Mm,
was our dime. Yes, nobody sent us, that sort of thing. When the United Nations was looking to see why we were there, I'm like, "Don't look in the book. Nobody sent us.
yeah.
But you got to do the work. You got to
You
do it.
gotta do the work. Yes, I experienced something very similar when I went down to Brazil myself. And what I know is that if God does provide the vision, God will provide a way for it to be done. And I know that so much of your work is about you know, definitely helping women, but it's about really empowerment of women, empowerment of all of us to really know who we are and to be able to make choices to live that whole life, that life based in God and in spirituality. But I know you even include not only faith, but overall wellness, not only medical wellness, but food as medicine, and that has been a big part of your journey as well. I know, in terms of
Yes.
education. Mhm.
Yeah. I tell you, it has always concerned me. Another side of the work I do is for professional women, and that's
Mhm.
very near and dear to my heart, and I'm very
Mhm.
particular about it. And the
Mhm.
reason is that is a group of women. We're the group of women who fall through the cracks. A
Mhm.
lot of times when people think about helping women, rightfully so, they think about women who are going through a hard time, women who are lower socioeconomic.
Right.
They don't think about the professional C-suite woman
Right.
who she's dying inside. And I
Yep.
know, for example, alcoholism and drug use is quite high in
It's
this
very high.
population.
Mhm.
Yeah, stress, and people are stressed out and all like that.
Mhm.
So that is a group that I am called to work with, and I've done that, like I said, in over 24 countries around the world. I
Mhm.
talk to professional women, and I say, you can be successful, but you need to make sure that you're balanced, and
Mhm.
that spiritually, right? You have to eat the right food, the things we eat, nutrition, sleep and rest, 7 to 9 hours of sleep every night.
Mm.
We often you can't make up sleep deficit. We used to think we could make it up like a bank. You run down and you deposit. No,
You can't.
it doesn't work like that,
No.
And we know that loss of sleep sets you up for major diseases, heart attack, high
Right.
blood pressure, diabetes, and
Mhm.
food is medicine. We're what we eat. So we have to eat right, that sort of thing. And community. We have to take time for friends and friendship and going to a spiritual home. That is part of wellness.
Yes, it
So
is.
that is my absolute commitment to work with each and every one of us, saying you can be successful, but pay
Yeah.
attention to these things because it will catch up with you.
Yes, I think you're saying so many important things, and I think you're right. Success, as we call it, quote unquote, success in the outer world has with it a lot of challenges that nobody ever speaks about because, we think it's about the career and the money and the status, not realizing what is given up, to achieve those states, especially at very high levels. And I saw an interview recently with Trevor Noah, the comedian, and one of the things he said is what he grew up having in a village, now he has to pay for. And that is the lie of success that, well, if you need this, just pay for it. He said, when I had very little and I was growing up in a community, I had all these things for free. If somebody was sick, neighbors helped. And so what we don't realize is, when people are, as we're saying, successful at this level, a lot of times the basics are left out. They don't have community. They don't have a spiritual practice. They're eating on the run. So they're eating things that aren't supportive of their life. They're not sleeping. So I think these are all things to lift up for virtually all of us to say, have I let myself, go into a place of isolation for financial success? Because we find out that's not success at all. Money with no community and meaningful friendships is very, very empty. And that's probably a third of my clients that I've had over the years have been people who they have the financial success, but then they say, there's got to be more. I want the more, and that's they're learning now. So,
Yes, there's a study out of Yale
yeah.
that says that um, happiness goes up until you get to about $65,000. And after that, you don't get any more happy by earning more money.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, so also one has to realize that it's experiences, lived experiences. Some of us don't want to take vacation. Some people say, I can't remember the last time I have taken a vacation, but I said, that's not good. Just
No.
take your vacation, take your downtime, right?
Hmm.
Because stress will kill. Chronic stress will completely destroy you. And we notice that lots of things are on the rise.
Mm.
Cancer,
Oh,
we
yes.
know that 1 in 3 persons might um, experience cancer in a lifetime. We're not going
Yep.
to claim that, but we also know so many things are happening in our world, and it has to do with lifestyle. And if we can change our lifestyle even just a little bit, big things happen. Just a little tweaking, have more be more planned forward. You might not be able to give up meat per se, but we can eat less meat and
Yeah.
more of our vegetables. It's still a good thing to eat your vegetables, like our parents used to say. Yeah.
Yes, I think those are all beautiful points, and as we're doing those things, having a grounded daily spiritual practice, which again is something we come back to here on the show. It's like if you're resting, if you have a grounding spiritual practice, well, that's going to inform everything else you do. That will inform how you eat. That will inform your relationships. That will inform whether you're taking, vacations or not. That will inform how you treat others and build communities. So I think you're saying some very important things. What are you doing? In your own practice, what keeps you guided? Because it sounds like because you love to serve and you work with so many people and you've traveled the world, that I'm sure you've had to have a practice that supports you in staying grounded and connected. What's your daily practice like?
Yes, you have to. When you're pouring out,
Mm-hmm.
even more so, it's important for you to take care of yourself. So for me, my practice is the same. I wake up every morning, and before I rush out or anything, I have a cup of tea. I sit in the same chair
Mm-hmm.
and I have a cup of tea. I say my prayers. I
Yeah.
do my meditation, and then I go out. I am also very mindful of my environment and the people in my environment. And because I'll soak up everything. I'll soak up all the negativity, and you'll be on your way very happy, and I'm bawling, So I'm very careful about
Mm.
who I let into my environment, and how much of something that's negative that I allow to come into my space, my emotional, my spiritual space. But I think that it's really, really important, for us, before we rush out, and the day is to be grounded,
Mm.
which means even if you have to wake up 15 minutes earlier, it is so worth it. And for me, I love to read. I read a lot. I love art.
Mm.
Like yesterday, I went to an art gallery in DeLand to see the exhibit of the Highwaymen. I love jazz. I go
Oh, I
to,
love the
yeah,
Highwaymen. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
yes, it's lovely. I love jazz, and
Mm-hmm.
so for me, I understand, because remember, I was burnt out before, so I know how that feels. So I
Mm-hmm.
really take great care. And when I have something that I can't seem to work through or push through, I write. Right, which is like you talk, the book Becoming Whole, Letters to the
Mm-hmm.
Woman I Am,
Mm-hmm.
started with me getting my heart broken and couldn't pull out of it, and then decided to write it. And before I knew, we had this book, which is becoming such a blessing to everyone. But journaling is very important as well.
Oh, yes. You said so many important things. I think, and there you are in your chair with your tea. Yes, yes. The cover of the book is beautiful. Did you do the cover? Or did someone do it for you?
No, I did the cover. I did it with the
Beautiful.
help of AI, by structuring it and back and forth and say what I wanted, because I had something in mind
Yeah, you
that I
had something
wanted.
in
So
mind.
yeah, yes.
Well, it's really beautiful, and I think you said a lot of great things. And if any of our listeners aren't familiar with the art rather of the Highwaymen, you want to familiarize yourself. The story, the history, and the courage and the talent that it took from those artists going door to door and creating these scenes is really beautiful. But I loved what you talked about, because what you're really talking about is engagement with life and with culture. There's nothing to me more meaningful than listening to jazz. I'm a big a jazz fan myself, and I find it to be uh, it's rooted in so much history, and it's rooted in survival, most
Right.
definitely. And so it can be very inspiring to listen to. So I loved all those things. So it's like, friends, as you're listening, what are the things you're doing to stay inspired and stay connected? And I think that simple ritual of the morning, of time to set your intention, taking time for yourself. And I agree. I think the morning, there's a very special energy in the morning. I have people, Lorna, often say, "Well, I'm a night person." I say, "I don't care. Get up earlier." uh, because there's a special energy in the morning. And I think it's about starting your day with intention, with a focus on how can I be my best self? How can I live from my highest spiritual self today? And also knowing in a real human way, I also need to take time for me to get filled up, to find my joy, to get inspired other places, to then go out into the world to do, it's mine to do. So I love the idea of your book of being a support. And it sounds like it came out of your own finding of yourself, all right? Your own sense of becoming whole in your journey.
Yeah, it was a journey that started very painfully. Like I said,
Hmm.
I got heartbroken, but during the process, I found myself, and I
Mm.
understood that, um, we're born for greatness, yes, and sometimes we allow ourselves to drift into territories that make us question our
Mm.
worth, or we sometimes squeeze into spaces
Yes.
to fit other people, or we forget to tell our own story. And that is a book that calls us back to self, and with exercises that one can practice, because uh, it might not be a broken heart from love, or so it might not be. It might just be how we spend so much time on social media, where we start believing the hype of what we see, and
Yes.
everybody seems to be doing the same thing, and you're sure, look at me, look at me.
Yeah.
I say, put the phone down every once in a while. If you're
Yep.
out to dinner with some, don't be both on the phone.
Yes,
The
exactly.
conversation, the art of conversation, because
Yeah.
it pours into your soul. So that's a book that reminds us to come back to self and what is important and all like that, with different prompts along the way.
Absolutely true. And we talk a lot about that on the show as well. It's why I knew when we spoke that I really wanted to have you on, because I think you come at it from a different perspective. But by and large, I say the exact same thing. Put down your phone, get with real people, have real conversations, and you'll find we're really not that different. I think as a society, what's happening now is we're seeing the shadow pieces of society, the shadow pieces of all the money and leadership. But I find most people to be capable of great love, of great service, of great compassion for each other. And I think the more we're online, the more our positions get calcified, and we forget to see the unity and the sameness in all of us. So I'm a big fan of what you're saying. And again, I want to lift up your book. And I know, Lorna, you've got a lot going on and you are doing speaking. Sean, can you put up for those watching online her book again, Becoming Whole: Letters to the Woman I Am by Lorna Owens? And also, Lorna, I know you're going to be speaking at Unity of Daytona Beach here in June. I think it's June 7th coming up. But any place else or anything else you want to tell our listeners about where they can find you? Because I know you do have somewhat of an online presence, and you even have a store, right? That's supporting some of
Yes.
your work. Hmm.
Yeah, so you can always find me here in Deland. I have a store called Desert Sage 101 Artisan Alley. We only close Sunday and Mondays. Come see us. We have teas and candles. But importantly, 15% goes to support the work. And what the work is
Mm.
today is we provide scholarships for young women in sub-Saharan Africa to become midwives. And we pay 100% of everything. And it's a 4-year scholarship. So, we do donate to that cause. So you can always find me if I'm not traveling. Come March 14th in Miami at the Bal Harbor Ritz-Carlton, we're doing And the Women Gather Literary Brunch. And that is a coming together of women authors and women from somebody's coming in from Texas. And for that period of time, we just have an amazing brunch, soulful on the water, and we pour into us. So that's coming. And
Beautiful.
technically I'm heading out to Jamaica on Thursday, but if you go to desert-sage.co, you can see where I'm going to be around the country, because I'm always, moving
Oh,
around the country and
yeah.
speaking and all like that. Yes.
Oh, beautiful. Well, we'll have information in the show notes to your social media as well as to your website. And that will also be anybody watching on YouTube. We can send them this. So, Lorna, thank you so much for taking time today. We're honored to lift you up in your work. I can't wait to have you here at Unity of Daytona Beach. And I'm so glad that Spirit brought our paths together. I thought it was so funny of all the people that we both knew, is how I knew it was divine order. But we love you. We bless you. We're honored to support you and to lift up some of the work you're doing. My friend, I hope people will not only come check you out, but support your work financially as well. So, my friend, thank you. We bless you. And to all our listeners, thank you for listening today. It is always a pleasure to have you along the journey with us. We look forward to seeing you next week, and blessings on the journey.
Thanks for having me. Peace and blessings.
You got it, my friend.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Experience of the Soul with Cynthia Alice Anderson. If this message resonated with you, we invite you to share it with someone who might need it today. This show is made possible by listeners like you, and we're grateful for the community that helps keep these conversations available to all. You can learn more or contribute to the show at cynthiaaliceanderson.com/donate. Produced by Kilgore Creative and a production of the Soulworks Group Incorporated. Until next time, take good care.